So in this time of the coronavirus, there's really nothing more therapeutic than getting in your shop and doing something. Keep your mind off what's going on. Um, so I am working on finishing up this class-built micro bootlegger. I've sanded it out and it's now ready for some fill coats. I'm going to do the fill coat here in a couple of steps. It's not uncommon after the first fill coat, which this boat has an initial fill coat on it that we did the day we did the fiberglass, and we came in later that evening and applied a fill coat. That is helpful, but it doesn't necessarily do everything that needs to be done with the fill coat, especially if you're doing it fairly early in the process. You might have some places where the porosity of the boat, for whatever reason, sucks a little bit of resin in and leaves a low spot in the fill coat. So the most common place for that to happen in a boat like this, we use staples, and those staple holes tend to wick in a little bit of epoxy and will leave a low spot and sometimes a little bit of porosity, a little pinhole down into the layup. So my first process in a fill coat is going to be to squeegee on a thin layer of slightly thickened epoxy to work down into those pinholes and make a good base for when I brush on a fill coat later on. I'm also going to fiberglass the coaming. So I need to cut some strips of fiberglass a couple inches wide, like 4 inches wide, and wrap that around this coaming. I'm going to take the glass, run it up the interior of the riser, over the top of the coaming lip, and down underneath the coaming lip. So it's going to have a nice wrap all the way around, and that's going to make it really strong, provide some good protection, seal up the end grain of the riser and everything that needs to be done. So that's why I put this polyethylene sheeting on the inside, just to contain the drips while I'm working on that coaming lip. So I think the process I'll do here is I'll squeegee on that initial fill coat, work on getting the glass wrapped around the coaming, and then brush on a thick fill coat. I will mask off the top side versus the bottom side, so when I do the fill coat, I am not getting drips running from the top down to the bottom. And my hope in doing that is to get a little bit beyond the part line. So here's the part line. We have the tape on either side of the part line. So the part line's actually in the middle, the part line being the separation between the deck piece and the hull piece. So we ended up having this seam tape come down a couple inches below the part line. It happens to be where the we made the transition from the light color of the bottom to the dark color of the top. I'm going to mask off a couple inches below that. That way I'm getting a fill coat over that seam tape down onto the hull a little bit, and then when I go to fill coat the hull, I'll again bring it beyond the seam tape. That way I get a double fill coat over that seam tape. So I guess I just need to prep some materials. I'm going to cut some bias tape for the coaming, and I guess that's my first step, is just cut some bias tape. So again, bias tape is just a regular fiberglass we use for the rest of the boat. In this case, it was a 4-ounce cloth cut on the diagonal. So if the weave's going vertical and horizontal, we will cut at a 45-degree angle through that weave, so we get cloth where the fibers are not running the full length and directly across, they're running in the diagonal across that tape, and that lets it distort easily, and distortion is what we need to be able to get around this coaming lip. That's a lot of stuff going on when we're coming up the vertical, across the top, and down around the lip. So the bias tape can do that, and it's really kind of amazing what the bias cut tape will wrap around. So that's the first thing I'm going to do, is cut that tape. So yesterday I got that fill coat on, really looks nice. Pleased with how that came out. I've got the coaming glassed. The coaming needs a fill coat now, and I still need to fill coat the bottom. So what I think I'm going to do today is put the fill coat on the coaming, let that set up a little bit, then flip it over and fill coat the bottom. Before I fill coat the coaming, I'm just going to clean up the bottom edge on the inside here. I had let that hang down, the glass hang down, instead of wrapping it under the deck. That way I don't get a bunch of drips under there. But at this point I need a fill coat on there, and I want to clean this up so that fill coat's on a smoother surface. We'll see. I may try to mask around that bottom edge a little bit so I don't get those drips I was talking about. We'll see how ambitious I am. So that's it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, Please hit like, share it, do whatever you might do to get the word around that I'm doing these videos. For the next episode, I plan to start sanding. We'll see how far we get with that, but we're pretty well along here. And I think that'll be a good thing to do in the next episode. So look forward to that. If you want to be notified, hit the notification bell on the video on YouTube. Hit like on Facebook, any of those good things. As you may know, I earn most of my living through the sale of plans for these boats and others. You can go to my website at guillemotkayaks.com and find a bunch of plans for a bunch of small boats, mostly strip built like this. Also has some stitch and glue and some hybrids. If you're interested in building your own boat, it's a really gratifying project. It's a lot of fun. And I'm recording this during the height of the coronavirus situation. So if you're looking for something to keep yourself busy, building a boat's really gratifying, good therapy for keeping your mind off other things. So with that said, keep yourself safe, wash your hands, happy paddling, and talk to you later.